Jay Chenier, Darren Soon,
Here.
Angelique Ashby, Linda Budge,
Here.
Larry Carr,
Here.
Sue Frost,
Here.
Eric Guerra, Lori Hewer,
Here.
Patrick Kennedy,
Here.
Stephanie Wynn, Don Natoli, Susan Peters,
Here.
Phil Cerna,
Here. Karina Talamontes.
Wow, Phil, you've changed.
Two for one. Okay. Jeff Slowey.
Here.
Alan Warren. Okay, I'm going to read the statement.
Please.
This meeting of the Sacramento Public Library Authority is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems, and will be broadcast at Sacramento Cable TV. Today's meeting is being shown live and will be repeated at 4 p.m. on Saturday, September 29th, and at noon on Tuesday, October 2nd, on Channel 14. This meeting is closed captioned. A DVD copy will be available for checkout from any library branch no later than 2 weeks following today's meeting. A public copy of the full agenda, including reports, is available for viewing at the back table and is available on the library website at saclibrary.org. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should complete a speaker identification form located at the back table and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. In consideration of others, please silence your cell phone at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Can I ask Mr. Jim Quillinan to lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 2.0, public comment and matters not on the agenda. I don't see anybody signed up to speak, did I? We good? Okay. Before we move to item 3, I want to make a request to move item 9.0 up following the consent agenda. We want to take action on the budget. Does anybody have any issues with that?
Yeah, I think we want to discuss this fund balance thing on there, and I was planning to ask for an exception. Go ahead with the budget except for that particular issue. So.
Okay, never mind. We'll leave.
Like one item in the budget I want to talk about.
Okay, that's fine. We're
going to have a workshop on that item, so.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll leave it alone. Thank you. All right. Item 3.0, please.
3.1, Aaron C. and Heidi Hurst bequest.
So I'd like to invite Mr. Jim Quillinan up to the podium to talk a little bit about the Hursts. As the board, or those of you who've been on the board for a couple of years know, the Aaron C. and Heidi Hurst Trust provided about $1.8 million to Sacramento Public Library for the purchase of books. And Mr. Quillinan was the trustee, and we wanted to thank him in person.
Well, yes. Thank you for having me here. It's nice to be back in my old hometown. You could have turned the temp down a little bit, but that's okay. In any event, why me? My last name isn't Hurst. Well, Heidi Quillinan. She was my cousin.
Oh.
And we grew up together here in Sacramento. Her father was my Uncle Norm, who had moved to Sacramento in the 1930s. And in 1940, Uncle Norm and Aunt Vivian bought a house in William Land Park area, which I eventually sold during the course of this trust administration. So they were there a very, very long time. My dad, who was Uncle Norm's younger brother, we followed to Sacramento in 1950. and I was a year and a half old, so I don't remember too much about that. But anyway, we were here, and Heidi and I basically grew up together at family events for many, many, many years. But her Uncle Norm was quite a guy. I just saw his little diorama somebody put together for him over in the Sacramento room. He was president of the Chamber of Commerce. He was one of the founders of the Mercy Foundation. He was very, very active in things in Sacramento for many, many, many years. He was a partner in I think it still exists, an insurance agency called McGee and Thielen. But they lived in the Land Park area. Heidi went to local schools, graduated. She graduated from UC Berkeley, and I think in 1973. She became a CPA and worked for the state of California almost her entire professional career. And then she eventually met Aaron. And Aaron, I'll tell you more about him in a minute, but they were married in 1982 in Carson City, Nevada. Why there? Well, that's where Uncle Norm and Aunt Vivian were married, and the two people that were there to show up for their wedding were Uncle Norm and Aunt Vivian. They were their two witnesses. So they had a very strong bond there. In any event, Heidi and Aaron never had any children. And in 2007, I get this call out of the blue from Aaron asking me to be the successor trustee executor of their estate if something happens to both of them. I said, sure, not thinking of anything about it for about another decade. Okay, but what about Aaron? Aaron's also a local boy, local person. Heidi was a girl. And Aaron grew up in Lodi. And he loved the fact he was born on leap year day. He was born February 29th, 1948, and he would always say he's only 2 or 3 years old when in fact he was a lot older. So he made a big joke about that all the time. He was raised by his mother and his grandmother. The parents were divorced when he was very little, and he never knew his father very well at all, I was told. He became an extremely accomplished sheet metal worker and was very successful all around the general area of Sacramento and environs doing sheet metal work. But the one thing, I only met him a few times in my life, but the one thing I always remember about him, and his cousins validated it when I talked to them, is he always had a book he was reading. No matter where he was reading a book. And actually, Heidi was a pretty voracious reader, but not as much as Aaron was. Then out of the blue, Heidi died in 2007. And so Aaron was in charge of everything on his own after that. I didn't think I was ever going to have to do anything. And then Aaron starts a very, very well-planned and thought-out retirement plan. And he amasses, this is the guy who was a sheet metal worker, he amasses an estate of over $4 million doing that. But he's got everything so incredibly well-planned, you wouldn't believe it. He gets the house in Sacramento all fixed up, gets it on the market, gets it sold, and moves to Forks, Washington. Everybody know where Forks is? Anybody go, oh, you read the books, Twilight books. So that's where he moved to Forks, Washington, and had everything unbelievably well organized and set up there. And he dropped dead 6 weeks later. Oh. So that was kind of sad. But about a month after I took control of everything, I get a forwarded mail from the Forks Library. There's an overdue book in his name. And I said, well, I'm sorry to report you he passed away, but I'll find the book and get it to you, which I did do, and I gave him a check for $50 on top of it. So when I found out from his cousin, the first thing Aaron did when he moved to Forks, Washington, was get a library card. So that's the real connection to the library is there. So, and then the other thing that I found out about Aaron, I knew this about Heidi, but I didn't know about him. They loved going to the beach. They were just beach walkers. They weren't swimmers or surfers, they liked to go. So after they had both passed away, Aaron's family and I scattered their ashes on the beach in Washington. So they're forever on the beach together.
Beautiful.
And that's the story of Aaron and Heidi and how $1.8 million got to the Sacramento Public Library Authority because they loved books. Oh. A family trait. I read a lot too. So, okay.
Jim, thank you so much.
Okay. Hope that helps.
So I just want,
yeah, well, just real quick. I just want to, first of all, thank you for sharing that history with us. And what a great way to ensure that the roots that they had here in Sacramento region is forever maintained and is a legacy.
Oh,
we
yeah,
really appreciate it. 1.1 million. That's fantastic. And I understand we have a dedication for you in the Sacramento room, Rivka?
We'll be putting a plaque in the Sacramento room recognizing the very significant gift. And the other sort of wonderful piece of this is that there are photographs and other things from the estate that we happily accepted. So it makes for a richer display of Sacramento history. And we brought an example. So we're taking a distribution every year. As you know, you approved this in the budget. And we're taking a distribution every year from the corpus. And this year we used it to buy children's books. So we brought a cart providing an example of the kinds of things that we purchased with the distribution this year. And we're really very grateful to Mr. Quillinan for coming to see us and for telling the story, because that's what's been missing.
Yeah,
We're happy to
absolutely.
share
That's the story of them. And I have 7 grandchildren. What should I take home with me?
Jim, hold on. We have a speaker, Sue Frost, signed up to speak. Go ahead, Sue.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Well, thank you very much.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Spend it wisely. Looks like you are.
And I appreciate you making the
Thank
trip
you.
out here. You came from Sunnyvale all the way out, so
Sure. Take care.
thank you, Jim.
Picture of you with the books, though?
Oh, sure.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think with Mr. Quillinan.
All right. Next item, 3.2.
3.2, National Friends of the Library Week, October 21st to 27th, 2018. Recognition. You have a little history of their accomplishments in your board packet. And we do have some people from Friends of the Library here, if they'd like to speak.
Hello, hello.
Hello, I'm Anita Scurry. I'm president of the Friends of the Sacramento Public Library. I have some of our wonderful volunteers here. I'm not going to speak other than to introduce them. This is David Wagner. His branch is Arden Dimmick. Pam Whiteley, her branch is Rancho Cordova. And Chris Wagner, who is also Arden Dimmick, as well as I'm Arden Dimmick too. We have an item on your agenda, and I'll happily speak at that time.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for that great compilation of all we've done.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next item.
3.3, Summer Reading and Summer Lunch Final Report for 2018.
Christy, yeah, good. Christy Ham, our Youth Services Manager.
Hello. I know our agenda today is very full, so I will not take a ton of your time, but I did want to give you a chance to celebrate some of our successes that we had this summer with the most successful summer reading program in Sacramento Public Library history. So let's look at some cute kids and talk about some numbers. We had 36,762 signups, and these are some of our cute winners here. It's about flat with last year's sign-up numbers, but we have some other results we think are even better. Our finishing numbers, the number of people who read 5 or more books during the course of the summer, was up a significant amount over last year, over 10% across the board. And so we know that more kids and adults and people of all ages read 5 or more books, which helps eliminate the summer slide during the course of the summer. It was a really great summer. You can see our finishers percentage. 61% of people who signed up finished, which means we had people engaged with the library. They came back, they did more activities, they read more books all summer long, and we have some great feedback from different happy customers here. Our community read a ton of books. Our goal was 400,000 books, and they blew right by it. We read almost 600,000. So 564,000 books were logged, individual titles read by all of our Sacramento readers. So think of all the literacy that was happening this summer, thanks to all of our support. We gave away prizes, obviously. For kids, you earn a book. If you read, you get a book. We think that's a really great way to build a home library and keep those skills going, build the interest. In addition, our adults also earned some book den certificates to help the Friends of the Library. And of course, we gave away medals if you read 25 books or more. And you can see some of our happy winners here. And then we gave away some grand prizes to keep the fun going. So this year we gave away a Nintendo Switch for kids and teens. That was very motivating. Sometimes kids need a little incentive to keep the momentum going. So that was very helpful. the most finishers ever in Sacramento Public Library history. And this year, we think we eliminated about 3,000 years of learning loss in Sacramento because of this. So we want to really thank our supporters who make this possible. The Sacramento Public Library Foundation is our key sponsor for this. Without their funding, we wouldn't have all the medals and prizes that we're able to give away to keep this momentum going. And the Friends of the Library also help with fundraising for programs and stuff. So we had some additional successes this year. Our Swim Pass program, last year we did just in District 8, and this year we expanded across to all the city pools, and it even expanded to Galt. So we had over 2,000 passes that we gave out to swimmers across the city, and 370 at Galt. So we gave away, if you read 5 books, you earned a pass to the pool. And it also included adults as well. So we know families were actively reading and swimming this summer. And this is our 6th year of Lunch at the Library. We expanded to 13 different libraries where we served a free meal for kids 18 and under. We used teen volunteer program coordinators to keep that program going, and we had special funding this year from Raley's that helped give the funding for the stipends for those teens. They also gave some produce giveaways, and we did some special events for those lunch programs. We served 14,000 meals across our 13 different libraries this summer. And we just want to say thank you to all of our partners who made it possible. And we had a media partner this year with ABC 10. We had a bunch of different spots piloting summer reading, spreading the word. We did movie theater ads to spread the word also, and just lots of different ways to keep people reading this summer. And so we do want to thank the Sacramento Public Library Foundation for all of their support and the Friends of Sacramento Public Library. Any questions?
Any questions?
Yes.
Yep, go Mr. Carr.
Thank you. I want to ask my fellow board members to give special consideration to the summer swim pass program. The way it works, as she said, if you read 5 books, you get a pass to the swimming pools that are participating, as well as a pass for an adult. That was a learning experience from the previous year. Kids read the books, but they didn't use the swim passes because many of them could not get to a pool. And I think it would be a great thing for our region if we could guarantee from every library and every swimming pool in Sacramento County that if you read the 5 books, you can go to any pool in the whole county, in all of our cities. And it's doing a great thing for our kids because they lose so much between June and September. And this is one way we can keep them engaged. So I would just plead with you to take this back to your councils and boards and see if they will join in the effort. So every library, every swimming pool open to our kids in the summer.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Why should we have boundaries in the county for our kids? Is there a way to reach out through the library authority to each of the jurisdictions? Is everyone okay with that? I'm seeing the heads nodding. Okay.
Yes, we
Absolutely.
want to especially thank Director Hewer because we think that she provided a little bit of competitive edge for our folks in the city of Sacramento this year. Councilmember Carr has been the leader of the idea of swim passes, but we got the whole city on board this summer.
Well, with any luck, we'll have a pretty nice aquatic center open in our city, Elk Grove, too.
Definitely want to do that, capitalize on that for next year.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Congratulations
Thank you all
on
for your
another
support.
successful program this year. It's great to see this trend continuing.
And especially with Elk Grove being so close to District 8, separated by Sheldon, we have many of our kids who read at the North Laguna Library, but are closer to the Elk Grove pool.
Right.
So if we could have, and vice versa. So if we could have some kind of cooperative agreement where we all work together for the sake of the kids that we all serve.
Happy to work on that with you.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, item 3.4.
Friends of the Sacramento Public Library.
Hello.
Hi again. As you know, we're pretty much an all-volunteer organization, and Ms. Beamer's lovely report tells you that we donated over 56,000 hours of volunteer time. The 3 friends who joined me here are responsible for a fair number of those hours. Ms. Whiteley, stand up. is manager of our book den, which is a warehouse that has over 100,000 books and provides revenue also to support the library. Ms. Chris Wagner works at Arden Dimick sorting and scanning books, and also puts books on Amazon for Arden Dimick and for the book den. Mr. David Wagner is president of the Arden Dimick Friends, and he and I were sorting books today in our little shed. They put in countless hours, all to help the library. I want to talk about 3 things briefly. First is the Book First program, which is a library program that's funded by the Friends. And maybe some of you will use your discretionary dollars next year for funding some of it. One of the biggest things that it has done is to connect the library to the schools. Before, the schools kind of went, nah, you don't have anything to give us. And now they are eager to have the library and the Friends come to their schools to distribute books to their first graders. It allowed more first graders than ever than last year to get cards. Last year, 1,160 in year one, 1,162 first graders got library cards, and this time 1,362 students got library cards. We have changed the threshold, which is free or reduced price lunches. The library has changed the threshold based on funding provided by the Friends. We've, in addition to the schools that we reached last year, we are going to reach about 13,800 first graders. And 6 branches are actually contributing money to add to the number of schools that will be covered, where students in first grade will receive a free book. And those branches are Rancho, Orangevale, Arden Dimick, Carmichael, Fair Oaks, and North Natomas. Some of them, in their generosity, have said, put the money where it's needed most. And so that is what the library will be doing. We also had a membership drive. I want to give a shout out to the 3 winners. We increased our membership by about 5%. Cortland had a 52% increase in members. They got 10 members, new members. Martin Luther King, 53% increase, and a really big shout out to North Sac Hagenwood, which had 107% increase.
Wow.
28 additional members, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The last thing I'd like to talk about is Friends of the Library believes that many patrons of the Sacramento Public Library have an affinity and a fondness for their own branch library. These branches provide services and programming responsive to unique community needs and may have served several generations of a family. Many members of the Friends identify a specific branch as part of their membership application and may be interested in further supporting their local branch through various forms of planned giving, including legacy giving. To encourage that kind of giving, we, the Friends of the Sacramento Public Library, recently made a decision to create a 509(a)(3) supporting nonprofit organization, one that supports both the purposes of the Friends and the purposes of the Sacramento Public Library. At least initially, the focus of the planned giving outreach for this organization would be Friends members and their families, library volunteers, and library patrons. Gifts would be used to support and enhance library programs, especially those offered by local branch libraries. We're hoping to try to sort of reduce the, I'm going to say, revenue inequity between branches. There would be no duplication of existing endowments that are under management by the Sacramento Public Library Foundation, nor would we compete with the foundation's focus on children's literacy. We expect, or hope, I guess would be a better word, to have this up and running in early 2019. That's our goal. So do you have any questions? That's my report.
Do you have any questions? I see Mr. Carr, our Director Carr, you're signed up to speak, but that's okay. Okay. No questions, but I do want to thank you for your continued advocacy on the library, and thank all of you for your volunteerism. It goes a long way in helping us sustain services here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item.
3.5, Sacramento Public Library Foundation.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. As you may remember from a few months ago, I'm Jim Dieringer. I'm the president of the Library Foundation Board of Directors. Today, I just wanted to report to you on the community literacy map that we have just launched. I know some of you are aware of this, but maybe not all of you. A year or two ago, we got a grant from the Golden Run Credit Union to develop this map. And our executive director, April Javist, with the help of a tech consultant, has now assembled all of this. It's an interactive sort of digital map. There are various literacy-related metrics that are built into this map. Examples, percentage of children who are reading below grade level by school, the number of children participating in summer reading program, again, by school, location of library branches, schools or library branches that are being reached by various literacy organizations such as Reading Partners, 916 Inc. The percentage of children in each school who participate in free or reduced cost lunch programs. And then political districts are also outlined on there. So one can superimpose any number of these metrics, over one another to see the relationship between them. And the map has a kind of a heat map element, so it's very easy if you turn that on to kind of see where the hot spots are, if you will. So we are really excited about this as a tool for matching available resources with the greatest need. We think this is going to be a very useful thing for schools, for the library. We had a public launch of this map on September 6th, and as it happened, Eric Guerra was there, and he even demonstrated the map on the fly. He had never done it before, but he did it for the attendees and did a great job. So it kind of illustrated how easy it was to use. There was a segment on Capitol Public Radio on the Insight program with Beth Ruiak that's run a couple of times where there was an extensive discussion of this map. So we're going to be trying to promote this in various ways. And the map is up on our website, so anybody who wants to check it out can do that and can work with it. So I wanted to just make everybody aware of that. That's my report for now.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for Jim? Oh, I see Ms. Budge, Dr. Budge.
When you talk about the information that went into developing the map, and you mentioned summer reading programs, is that synced with the library summer reading program or with reading programs that might be taking place at different schools?
It's the library's summer reading program.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
And, we are going to be refining this over time. I mean, there may be other metrics we're going to learn about that should be incorporated into this. And there is going to be a maintenance element to this and a cost for that every year that we're going to try to, come up with the money to make it current at all times.
Well, thank you, Jim. I think collecting this data will go a long way towards making us more efficient with our resources. So it's a great idea.
Our hope.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. That brings us to closed session. We have an item on here for public employee performance evaluation for the library director. Open the closed session public comment at this time. Is there anybody signed up to speak? Seeing none? Okay. We'll adjourn to closed session and we'll come back. Thank you.